So this is a follow-up on something we talked about yesterday. We talked yesterday about how a court declared that Trump could not block people on Twitter from his official presidential account. Well, and I said I agreed with that. I don't think elected officials should be able to block people on their official accounts. Now, if they have a personal account separate from their presidential account or their elected official account, that's a different story. They can do what they want there. That's their private account. But their account as a public servant, as a public official, they shouldn't be able to block people. I do agree with that. Now, to be fair here, it goes to everybody, not just Donald Trump. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has Donald Trump Twitter block ruling turned against her. Now, I don't know if I agree with this headline fully. I don't know if it was turned against her necessarily. It just applies to her, too. A Democrat and a Republican have filed lawsuits against the New York Congresswoman, which call for her to unblock them on Twitter. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez faces 2 legal challenges over her blocking of people from the viewing of her AOC Twitter profile, which has more than 4.6 million followers. Democratic former New York State Assemblyman Dov Hicken and GOP congressional candidate Joseph Salino, who's also apparently, according to this article, a controversial YouTuber, Joey Salads. I've never heard of Joey Salads, so I have no comment on that. On Tuesday, announced separate lawsuits against Ocasio-Cortez. On the same day, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan ruled that President Donald Trump cannot block critics for viewing his Twitter feed. So basically, this applies to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez too, as it should. She should not be able to block people from her public profile as an elected official. Now, are there exceptions to everything? Of course there are. Will there be exceptions to this rule too? I'm sure there will be. If there's a situation where somebody on Twitter poses a legitimate violent threat to whether it's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Donald Trump or any other elected official, it doesn't matter who it is, then, well, that circumstance needs to be treated differently. Just like in the real world, I shouldn't say real world, but, in the regular sphere, in the non-E sphere, if somebody is calling, you can't stop somebody from calling a congressional office. That needs to be available to the public. However, if somebody is deemed a valid violent threat or something like that, if they're doing something totally outlandish, then, can some actions be taken to assure the safety of the people, the elected official themselves and the people working in that office? Yeah, I think it becomes a different story in that case. But overall, this is just another, for instance, of technology has passed up the law. This is just another example of that. That's why we talk about issues of censorship online. That's why we talk about issues of online privacy, about issues of free speech. The law has not caught up to technology. This is another, for instance, of that. And this is why stuff like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, stuff that has become the new E-square. It's the new electronic marketplace. It's the E-square. They need to be regulated like utilities. They need to become public utilities, and they need to have proper oversight to assure free speech for everybody and to assure just a safe exchange of ideas as much so as possible. And the law has not caught up with technology yet. So, there needs to be some guidelines where it's like, yeah, a public official cannot block somebody on Twitter from their public official account. And will there be certain exceptions to that? I'm sure there will be, and they need to be greeted on a case-by-case basis, and there needs to be some kind of structure for how something like that is handled. Right now, there isn't any. Right now, they're still just determining in the courts, can you or can't you do this? And I think they made a right ruling that a public official, whether it's Ocasio-Cortez or Donald Trump, they can't. However, there's going to be more to it. So, overall, this entire case is just another, for instance, of technology has not caught up with the law. Reverse that. I'm an idiot. The law has not caught up with technology. It just hasn't. It's slowly catching up. All right. So AOC, rules apply to her too, and any other elected official, whether they're a Republican, Democrat, a progressive, a Green, a Libertarian, you get the idea. If you're in office, you have a public account, you can't block somebody on Twitter. If there's certain extreme circumstances where there's a real threat of violence or something where someone's safety is of concern, there needs to be some kind of structure in place to make those judgment calls. And right now we don't have any. Right now it's just like, well, Silicon Valley gets to decide whatever. So anyway, but the rules apply to AOC, Trump, and everybody in between. All right.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and